Hi everybody, Craig Wessels here with my Yank on the Footy, and welcome to episode 382. I believe it's 82. And it's going to be a little bit of a shorter preview episode than normal. I'm out on an afternoon walk. I put in almost 8 miles yesterday, which I believe is 12 or 13 kilometers, I think. Trying to get geared up for my summer job where I'll be doing a lot of walking, plus helping to get me healthy as well. I do want to give a few shout outs. I ran into one of my coworkers for my summer job who's not a footy fan as of yet, but enjoys listening to my podcast. So Tyler, thanks for chatting yesterday. He does check it out over my YouTube channel, the Yank on the Footy, and that was a lot of fun running into him. Looking forward to getting going with this summer job as well. I mean, again, I'm a school teacher. I love my regular job, but I enjoy also getting out there and working at the local amusement park and hanging out with young people, because again, it helps keep old people like me feeling young. And I get to ride roller coasters for free as well. So we're going to be looking at the tips for round 3. And I got to tell you, we talked about a lot of the games last week in the couple of short episodes I did last weekend. And just some crazy things happening. And we're going to look at the first game. And are these two clubs that are like ships passing in the night? Essendon and Port Adelaide. You know, Port did not play well first round, came back and played pretty darn well the second round against Richmond. And Essendon, I gotta wonder what is going on with Essendon. Is it defense optional? It's kind of like two-hand touch gridiron football where there's not a lot of defense played. The NFL seems to like it that way. They like having live scoring, or high scoring games, I should say. I kind of lament the fact that they don't allow defensive players to actually do their jobs, and they treat the quarterbacks like they're prima donnas, that sort of thing. Very similar to a lot of the players in the AFL who seem to get free kicks for just about anything. Let me cover this up right now. I don't want to mention a former number 14 who maybe got a free kick or two of his own during his career. Love you, Joel Selwood. But, looking at Essendon, I got to ask, folks, Essendon, you're trying to win some games, and seem to be an awful lot of people pissing and moaning about Sam Draper's around the corner kicking. It worked for him. Now, I know that it's not what you consider typical kicking. It's not this is what everybody does when it comes to kicking the football. And it took a couple years before people, what's the term I want to use, shut the hell up regarding Brian Myers, and it's working for him. So Sam Draper, you keep being you. And if it's working for you and it continues to be successful and you feel comfortable doing it, you keep on doing it. That being said, I think even without Jack Lukosius for the foreseeable future, I am going to go with Port Adelaide to win this game by about 15 points. I just think Essendon is in a bit of disarray, or disarray, quite frankly. So I really wonder whether or not they're going to be able to put things together. Now, this is a club that I thought, had as good a shot as a lot of other clubs to play finals this year. And it's only been a couple of games, so it's still very early. They could figure things out. But right now, I'm not all that impressed with what I've seen from Essendon thus far this year. And then we head off to Marvel for the second game of the weekend on Friday morning, my time, Friday night, prime time in Australia, with Carlton and back to being the Western Bulldogs. And I'm interested to see what happens with Carlton with Harry Mackay out. Just this club, are they more or less dysfunctional than Essendon right now? Because this is a club that, talent-wise, should just be kicking the crap out of just about everybody. On paper, this is a phenomenal club. But again, they don't play the games on paper now, do they? Okay? So, the Bulldogs have overcome a number of injuries, disgruntled employees. I guess how else do we describe what's going on with Jamar Ugle-Hagan, and in terms of his issues? And if disgruntled employee is not the right thing, he's dealing with things in his personal life that he needs to get straightened out. I do wish him all the best, but they have had to use spit and duct tape to hold that club together right now, and they've looked pretty darned okay doing it. Okay, it's not a perfect club by any stretch of the imagination, but if they figure things out, and of course now Adam Treloar is going to be out a little bit longer as well, but just going to give the youngsters even more opportunities. And Sam Darcy, what club would not like to have them on their side? Now, of course, my mate Chris Pepper from Lace Out podcast talked about the other day that maybe there's no need for that big key forward anymore. But I have a funny feeling that if the Bulldogs were to offer up young Mr. Darcy to the D's, that Peps would be very happy to have him step in there to replace Bailey Frisch. That'd be my guess. Peps, I could be wrong about that, but I think I'm probably right about that. So I'm going with the Bulldogs to win this one by 18. I just think Carlton is in disarray. And could they still come back and have an impact this year? Of course they could, because we saw what Brisbane did last year. And Brisbane has set a precedence for any club that maybe struggles this year for their senior coach to just turn around and look at the fixture on their board in their training rooms and such and say, see that? Yeah, we dropped those first 4 games. We're 1-4 right now, but we can still come back and win this damn thing because it's happened before. It just happened last year. Oh, is it likely to happen? No, it's not. But they could certainly do it, okay? They certainly could do it, and Carlton has all the talent in the world to do that sort of thing if they get healthy, okay? But I'm going with the Bulldogs right now. Now, Peps, speaking of you, sir, we're going to be talking about your Demons facing off against Gold Coast back at the MCG, the lone game at the MCG this weekend. And I have to wonder, to be honest with you, with the way that Melbourne played last week against the Roos, and this is not taking anything away from North Melbourne because they played a phenomenal game, and it's not taking a shot at Gold Coast. How full is that stadium? I'm just curious. What's your prediction on the attendance for that game? Will they have 25,000 people there? Could they hit 30,000? I mean, I hope they do. I hope they do because, truthfully, to me, the way Gold Coast is playing, the way that I think that they're going to play this year, supporters of the game are going to want to come out and see this club as they're on their ascension. I really do. Nigel Linton, mad Gold Coast supporter there in Melbourne, is going to be there. He'll be front and center in the cheer squad. And Linton, I hope you have a fantastic time. Happy belated birthday, by the way. And Melbourne, I think your trip down the ladder continues. I'm going with Gold Coast to win this one by 10. I just think that we're starting to see the comp look a little bit like some of the episodes of Stranger Things. We're in a little bit of the upside down, okay, where what we think is going to happen, where we think Carlton's going to be up at the top of the ladder, where we think that, Melbourne should be up there. And, I'm not going to use the terminology that I've seen some people to describe their clubs, but they've not been great. But like I said, I'm going with Gold Coast to win this one because I think this is a game that they need to win on the road to prove to themselves that they can win on the road, and I think they get this victory. Okay. And then we move on to St. Kilda and Richmond back at Marvel. So the third game out of 4 at Marvel Stadium. That turf is going to need a nap after they get done with this weekend. So St. Kilda hosting Richmond. Richmond, you played a great first week game. You got thumped last week. St. Kilda, I tip my cap to you again. You had a great game plan against my Cats, and I'm more than impressed by what you did. And I think you're going to get another win this week, okay? I'm going to go with the Saints to win this one by 17. I think it's going to be a well-contested game. Could Richmond sneak up and win this one? Sure they could. They absolutely could. Okay? But I think this is just another game about them getting the experience into some of their youngsters, some of the older players, helping them to figure out how to assimilate into the speed and power of the game at the highest level. But I think St. Kilda, you got a pretty darn good game plan going on right now. So I'm going to go with you to take this one. So St. Kilda by 17 in this one. And then we head to, you got back-to-back, what you could argue to be games of the week, okay? Hawthorn hosting GWS down at University of Tasmania Stadium. I hemmed and hawed about this one a little bit. GWS is coming back off a bye. Hawthorn is going to be playing their 4th game in 4 weeks. And, can anybody stop Hawthorn? I don't know yet if Jesse Hogan's going to be back. I don't think Jake Stringer's back as of this point in time either. So, this gets back to what Peps was saying on Lace Out about the small forwards being kind of the key to your offensive success. wasn't there a term, a group known as the Mosquito Fleet? Okay. Or if you happen to be in, let's say, the Wizard of Oz, the Lollipop Guild, is that kind of what they're like? Is Hawthorne's forward line kind of like the Lollipop Guild? We represent the... Okay, I'm not going to say anymore. But I'm going with Hawthorne to win this one by 10. Until somebody shows me that they can beat this club, I can't tip against them right now because they're having so much fun. They're playing the game well. They're young. They're hungry. GWS is a hungry club as well. And GWS, I think, is going to finish top 4 right along with Hawthorne. Okay? But I'm going with Hawthorne to win this one by 10 points. Okay? And then we head up to the GABA in what sounds like is going to be an absolute quagmire from what the weather forecast had said. That may have changed, but it sounds like there's going to be a lot of weather in Brisbane at the GABA this weekend. Supposedly Charlie Cameron's going to be back this week. The Cats are likely to be without Tom Stewart, and as you saw against St. Kilda, that's never a good thing. So I really wonder whether or not the Cats are going to be able to figure things out. Well, they're going to have a week to figure it out, but still no Jed Buse, still no Jake Kolajasny. I don't know, is the solution to this problem right now to bring Reece Stanley back in and slide Sam DeConing back into defense, or do you want to keep developing Sam DeConing as your ruck of the future until Toby Conway proves to us that he can stay healthy? I say us only because I'm wearing my Cats sweatshirt right now. As much as I want to tip the Cats in this game, without Tom Stewart, I don't think I can do it. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go with Brisbane to win this one by 7, which is going to drop my Cats to 1-2 on the year. I'm not too concerned yet. Getting there, but I'm not quite yet. But Brisbane at home in what should have been the round 0 game. Yeah, in the weather, I just think that they're going to have the success that they need to win this one. I hope I'm wrong about this one. Okay, I really do. I hope I'm wrong. And then we get to, and stop me if you thought this as well. I think that this is the must-see game of the weekend. I really do. Yeah, I'm going to watch my Cats, but I think this is a 12:20 a.m. Sunday morning start for me, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to be up to watch this one. Okay, and that is Adelaide hosting North Melbourne. And at both clubs last week, just phenomenal victories. Okay, phenomenal victories. North played a great game in round 1. Just could not keep the other side off the scoreboard. Scored a ton of points. They scored 91 points, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. If this was being played at Marvel, I might tip North Melbourne to win it. But since it's being played at the Adelaide Oval, I'm going to go with the Crows to win this one by 11. But I think this is just going to be such a fun game to watch because you've got 2 young, extraordinarily hungry sides who are ready to just jump onto the national stage. Okay, and I was just thrilled to see the Roos get their victory last week when they paid tribute to Barry Cheatley. But this is going to be a fun game to watch. And I won't be surprised if North Melbourne were to win it, but I just think heading out on the road, maybe coming off of a 10-goal victory against Melbourne at home, maybe they have just a little bit of a drop-off, but I'm going to go with Adelaide to win this one, okay? And then we get to the Derby out in Perth at Optus, and West Coast hosting Freo. And Fremantle, I don't know, you're looking a little bit like a Ross Lyon Freo team where you're thinking defense first, and nobody has. Let me ask you this question: for those of you who know things about engines, in engine terminology in Australia, do they refer to like smaller engines having a governor on them to restrict the flow of fuel into the engine to prevent the engine from going too fast? So you might have a governor on like a go-kart or a motorized bicycle or a riding lawnmower, something like that. So you're not going out there and taking your riding lawnmower at 45 kilometers an hour through your yard. So it would have a governor to limit the amount of fuel that's getting into the engine. Can anybody tell the Freo coaching staff to take the damn governor off that club and just let them go score points? I mean, And again, this is not because I tipped them to play in the grand final, but good Lord, they look like they're like a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. They're hamstrung. They're being held back, I think. And this is a club that should be out there and playing at a much, much higher level than they're showing right now. They've got a lot of thoroughbreds, and they're treating them like they're draft horses. Let those ponies run. Let them get out there and run. Let them put 110, 120 points on the scoreboard. Who gives a shit if they give up 90? You're still winning by 30 points. Ross Lyon coaches a different team. It's a different era. Let those ponies run. That being said, I'm actually tipping West Coast to win this one because I don't think they're going to figure it out this week. So I'm going with West Coast to win the first derby out there by 8 points. Okay? So I'm going with the Eagles to win. So there you go. There's my tips. Port Adelaide, the Bulldogs, Gold Coast, the Saints, Hawthorn, Brisbane, Adelaide, and the West Coast Eagles. So there's my tips for this week. I probably got a bunch of them wrong. But again, if you're considering placing a wager based upon what I tell you, please look in a mirror and tell that person in the mirror, don't do that. You're a knucklehead, okay? Have fun with it. Enjoy the games. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you'll head over to my website at ayankonthefooty.com, and you'll get subscribed on the mailing list over there so that when new episodes come out, I'll get them into your inbox as soon as they're available. I hope you'll subscribe here on on YouTube as well. Okay, I'm up to 252 subscribers. It's not a lot. I'd love to get it up to 500 and then start pushing towards 1,000 as well, because I think once I hit 500 on there, it opens up the floodgates of monetary success. For those of you on audio only, I showed my fingers very close together. When I say floodgates, it's more of a trickle. But in terms of monetization on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed over my YouTube channel, I do encourage you to do so for that very reason. That'd be a huge help. If you want to help out the podcast, you certainly could click on that Buy Me a Coffee button and chip in a couple bucks to help keep the lights on. Just found out that I'm going to be putting a $6,000 chimney on my house because my 80-year-old chimney has decided it's time. So, yeah, but if you want to help out the show, you could certainly do that. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you tell your friends, that'd be awesome. Best thing you could do, leave a review and share it with your friends. So you can leave a review over at my website, ayankonthefooty.com. If you got somebody who'd be a great guest, maybe it's you, maybe you've got a great story to tell. I've got 2 interviews lined up. I'm sitting down tomorrow evening to talk with somebody from South Australia, and I lined up one from up in Queensland. I have not set the date on that one yet. This is, I think, a really, really neat story. It's one of those stories that as you know, for those of you who've been listening to the podcast for a while, I love telling those family, wonderful, heartwarming stories, if at all possible. Sometimes they're sad, but this is an awesome story. I can't wait to share this one with you. But if you got an idea for a guest, somebody you think could have a great story to tell, maybe it's about your most memorable game, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me to ayankonthefooty@gmail.com, at @yank_on over on X, a Yank on the Footy podcast on Facebook, on Instagram. You can find me at Yank on the Footy. Love to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, look out for one another. Check up on your friends. Make sure they're okay. If you need to get out and talk to somebody, please don't hesitate to do that. The world is a much better place with you in it. I'm sitting here at the Kiwanis baseball field, and right behind me over here was the baseball field where my son, we didn't play games here, but we practiced here because it didn't have this was not a league assigned park at all, but the teams that I coached him in for the better part of a decade, this is where we did most of our practicing. So I like to walk by here every once in a while and reminisce about having been able to spend that kind of time with him, coaching a game that he still loves and that I unfortunately gave up on because I think that Major League Baseball is destroying itself. And good thing, that's how I get to spend so much time being in love with the game that I love, that I'm bringing to you this episode about, the game of Australian football. And cricket's pretty awesome too. So folks, until next time, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I'll catch you later. And this has been episode 382 of the Yank on the Footy. Give me a subscribe. Tell your friends about it. And until next time, cheers and goodbye.